In cybersecurity, terms like risk, threat, and vulnerability get thrown around a lot, sometimes even used interchangeably, but they actually mean very different things. In this video, we'll break down what each one really means, how they work together, and why understanding the difference is essential to making smart security decisions. Let's get into it. First, we'll start by breaking down three terms that are often used interchangeably, but actually mean very different things: risk, threat, and vulnerability. A threat is anything that has the potential to cause harm. That could be a hacker, malware, a natural disaster, and even human error. It's the what could go wrong part of the equation. A vulnerability is a weakness or flaw in a system that could be exploited. It might be outdated software, misconfigured security settings, or an employee who isn't trained to spot phishing emails. Risk is the potential impact or likelihood of something bad happening when a threat takes advantage of a vulnerability. In other words, risk is what happens if the threat successfully exploits the weakness. Think about it like this. If a burglar's trying to break into your home, the threat is the burglar. The vulnerability might be an unlocked door or window, and the risk is the chance that your home gets broken into. Now that we understand what each of these terms mean, let's talk about how they work together. You don't have risk just because a threat exists, or just because a vulnerability exists. Risk only appears when a threat can exploit a vulnerability that affects something of value. Let's go back to the home analogy. If there's a burglar in the neighborhood, that's a threat. If your door or window is unlocked, that's a vulnerability. If you have valuable items inside, like electronics or personal data that can be stolen, that creates risk. But if your doors and windows are locked, or the burglar moves on, that risk is reduced, even though the threat and vulnerability may still exist. The same applies in cybersecurity. You might have unpatched systems, a vulnerability, but if they're isolated from the internet, the threat has no way to reach them, and the risk is low. Or if there's malware out there, a threat, but your users are well trained and your systems are fully patched, the risk of a successful attack drops significantly. That's why identifying and understanding threats, vulnerabilities, and risks together is so important. It's the foundation of smart security decision making. Now let's tie this all together with a real-world example. Imagine an employee at a company receives a phishing email that looks like it's from their IT department. The message says that their password's expiring and includes a link to reset it. In this case, the threat is the attacker sending the phishing email. The vulnerability might be that the employee hasn't been trained to recognize phishing attempts, or that the email filtering system didn't block the message. The risk is the possibility that the employee clicks the link, enters their credentials into a fake login page, and gives the attacker access to the company's internal systems. If the attacker gets in, they can steal data, install malware, or move laterally through the network, all starting from a single click. But if that employee had received proper training, or if multi-factor authentication was in place, the risk of that phishing email leading to a successful compromise would have been much lower, even though the threat and vulnerability still existed. This is how risk is reduced by both the environment and the controls we have in place. It's not just about fixing every vulnerability or stopping every threat. It's about reducing the chance that the two connect. Let's recap. Threats, vulnerabilities, and risks each play a different role in cybersecurity, but like many things in cyber, they're all connected. A threat is anything that could cause harm. A vulnerability is a weakness that could be exploited. And a risk is the potential damage when those two things come together. We looked at how this plays out in the real world, like a phishing email exploiting untrained users, and how the right controls like security awareness training or multi-factor authentication can reduce the risk, even when threats and vulnerabilities are still present. Understanding how these elements work together helps you make smarter security decisions, whether you're managing systems, writing policies, or just trying to protect your organization. If you found this video informative, please consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.